Welcome to this podcast on digital responsibility. There's a vibrant community across the world at the moment driving forward corporate digital responsibility, which includes a range of aspects from digital ethics, digital for the environment, sustainability, digital well-being, inclusion, accessibility, and more. My name is Rob Price, one of the founders of Corporate Digital Responsibility back in 2017. If you'd like to know more, have a look at the website corporatedigitalresponsibility.net. Welcome to episode 11 of season 2 of the Digital Responsibility podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today by Erica Stanford from CryptoCurry. Erica, would you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about CryptoCurry and how that kind of started as well?
Yes, the CryptoCurry is the Crypto Curry Club started, I think 3 years ago now. So thank you very much for having me and hosting me. And that's obviously where we met. We used to be able to have live events back before Corona. So good to see you here, and thank you for having me on. So yeah, the Crypto Curry Club until lockdown was I think the main sort of setup for in-person networking events for the crypto and blockchain space in the UK. We used to have lots of fun events over real life curry, getting people together with drinks, and got sponsored by Brewdog for a while, which was great. And we used to have sort of some invite only, some open networking events for the crypto and blockchain space to get people to get together and chat about specific themes and mostly networking and building friends and relationships in the space.
And it must have been a phenomenal space, must still be a phenomenal space for anyone wanting to know what's happening in the whole kind of crypto and blockchain world. But why? What started it for you? Why did you think this is what I'm going to do and drive forward?
It is an incredible space, and that's what's really nice about the space, because it's so fast moving and there's so much innovation always happening. And what's really nice about the space is you're always constantly hearing is people that are wanting to work in the space that are often leaving. There's this sort of really fast brain drain that we keep seeing of people leaving really good jobs, and often really well paying jobs in really good positions in big companies in all sorts of industries all around, from often all around the world, to work in these crypto startups just because they're more excited by what they're doing and they think they're going to move faster and they think they'll have more impact and drive more change in these startups. So it's changing really, really fast, and you've got so many of the smartest people just going to work in the space and wanting to work in the space and are really excited by it. So yeah, it's an incredible space, just a total varied group of really, really interesting and super smart people. And that's everything from sometimes the smartest people that are sort of driving the most changes are students and in their 20s. There's no real barrier to entry in that side of it, because it's just more about talent, it seems, rather than so much as what you've studied.
Do you almost find that there's almost a problem of kind of people with more set in their ways, if you like, of how they've perceived technology working or currencies kind of working previously, rather than somebody coming fresh into it thinking, hey, kind of what can I create from this blank canvas? Or actually, doesn't it matter?
I don't think that's a bad thing. You've got a lot of people wanting to work in crypto specifically because they're excited by it and they've been in the space themselves, sort of on a personal level, and just really want to. And you often get these people that have been in traditional careers for years or decades, and you see them with this sort of childish enthusiasm for what they're going to be getting into, which is really nice and really sweet, and it's them making their own decisions on that. And then on the other side, yes, you've got some people that are sort of more from traditional corporate industries and spaces, but that also brings benefits to the space. I think that there is an element in crypto where you've got a lot of sort of startup mentality that, yes, we can do this and we can change the world and everything will work and it will all be magical. And there is a practicality that for startups to actually grow, they do have to abide by set structures and get regulated and do certain things that will enable them to grow and be safe and so forth. So I think there is a value for people that have maybe had more experience on that side of it, which yes, maybe isn't quite as exciting as the innovation side. But yeah, I think it's still a practical part of what's needed to drive the space forward.
And I guess the key thing there is it's probably the melding of both. It's getting both perspectives to drive success. And I assume that there will be, like any innovative space, any startup space, those that are doing amazing things and maybe some ideas that don't quite make it. Or actually, are you finding that everyone who's doing something is driving huge value kind of in the short term?
I'd love to say that, but no, I think you're right. I mean, the general statistic for all startups in any industry, just regardless of crypto, is that about 90% of startups fail.
Yeah.
I think that stands true. In crypto, if anything, it's been more than that. And there's been two eras of that. Certainly when you had the sort of the ICO era, which was mostly 2016 to 2018, when it was really easy for a lot of these startups and companies to just raise a load of money. And these startups are often just literally coming out of thin air and putting sort of scrappy business plans together and raising way more money via the initial coin offering structure than they ever would have raised had they gone any other route, had they gone via VCs or to traditional investors or to funds or to friends and families or anything else. There would have been a lot more barriers and a lot more sort of stops and checks on, hey, what are you actually doing? What is the business plan? What is the structure? Who you've got with you, and so forth. Whereas in the ICO, in the main sort of ICO bubble era, it really was easy for these startups to just raise crazy amounts of money. And some of them raised, I mean, thousands, but some of them raised millions or tens of millions or more for projects that really didn't have a business plan. So the statistic for the ICOs, the crypto projects that were launched in the ICO era, seems to be that 98% of them either were scams or have failed, or something went wrong whereby the investors lost all of their money. So certainly for that time, the statistic was a lot higher than average. I'd say now from what I'm seeing, and this is just from being in the space without having the sort of official statistics to guide this, but you do see startups failing all of the time at varying stages, and then there's been a few that have rebranded and folded and then started again with the same team or a similar team to go on and do something else, which is great and good for them that they're trying again. So I have got the impression that, especially now with the pandemic and lockdown and the whole economic sort of uncertainties that we've got now, you've got so many businesses in every industry struggling and failing and collapsing. And often they were businesses that actually were really sound, that just weren't prepared for an 18-month lockdown where people weren't going out, weren't spending and whatever. And can you blame those companies? Well, no, not really. Maybe they could have adapted faster, but in some cases that's really hard. So in so many ways now, you've got a higher percentage than average probably failing due to the conditions and circumstances caused by the pandemic. And at least from what I've seen, because of the sort of the crypto and fintech startups, they're solving a different problem. They're looking at the future. They're looking at the sort of the futurization and the digitization of money, and making payments faster, easier, cheaper, more international. They're really looking at fixing some of the solutions that are what we'll be looking at, what people are starting to want now, and what people will be wanting going forward. And you see some of these companies still raising money, still growing, still expanding, still innovating at rapid paces now, often more than ever. And it might be because people are more aware of crypto. It might be because of the realization that maybe this is more of a way forward. So if anything, now I'd say it's possibly slightly less of a percentage of crypto startups suffering, but that's not statistics.
I think it's always felt as though we're waiting for a trigger point that suddenly accelerates adoption or accelerates understanding. I suppose if I think about crypto from an inclusion point of view and the ability for people to get involved, it has different ways. I mean, as you say, there's the investor community in terms of how they can engage, or indeed how anybody as an employee can decide to get involved. There's people who buy or trade in the currency itself, popularized obviously with Bitcoin, but kind of multitude of others and other ways of doing it. But when do we get to the point where actually a broader section of society can engage without fear of almost kind of the gambling kind of nature of crypto? I mean, it's a bit of a bet in terms of does it come off or does it not come off? When do we get to a point, or how do we get to a point when my mum, picking any person, can be comfortable with understanding what it can do for her?
Yeah, I think we're already getting to the stage where it is becoming much more usable. Certainly, if you look at crypto, just going back a couple years, it wasn't easy to use. It wasn't, by any definition of the word, always safe. There were problems with security and custody, and it was complicated. And going back a few years before that, it was incredibly hard to use and get into. And you've got all these horror stories of people struggling to try and set up their own sort of hard wallets to store their crypto on, and things breaking and losing them, and losing all of everything that they held on them. So, we're at a stage now where crypto isn't as easy as sending a message via WhatsApp or via a messaging platform, which is where it needs to be. But there are now digital wallets that are making it almost that easy, where you can log on, where you've got facial recognition, where you can enter whatever security it is. You can see what's in your account. You can press on a name or an address and send them a transaction, and see exactly what you've sent. And some of these apps are certainly better than the user experience offered by some of the more traditional banks. And it's evolving really fast. I mean, it's been known that in crypto, the user experience has been the problem and the lag, and that's what's been holding people back. And the ecosystem has developed so much. So there's now, you've got institutional grade security solutions and custody solutions. You've now got law firms acting in the space, and accountants getting on it, and softwares that manage everything. And you've got investment funds, and you've got all of these sort of wallets and exchanges that are making the user experience easier, safer, more accessible to everything from institutions to sort of Tesla to normal people. And I think we're not far away. You've got startups now that are looking at sort of naming services where I could just have you as Rob in my phone, and then I don't have to have your Bitcoin address or anything like that. I can just go to Rob in my phone, and instead of sending you a message or a video, I could send you crypto. So that's now coming about. So I think we're not far away. And I think, what's, at least in my opinion, what's needed in cryptos is for people to be able to send money digitally without it being so volatile. So it doesn't need to necessarily be Bitcoin, but some way of being able to send money digitally that it is just easy and instant and idiot proof. And at the moment, if I want to send you money digitally, well, to send you money, we could meet up and give each other cash, or you could do a bank transfer, which is half the time a bit of a pain in the ass, or PayPal, but that has a tendency to block you or to block people it doesn't like. Or with crypto, it can be much easier. And I think we're not far away from it genuinely being easier to send you a crypto transaction than sending you money in any other way.
I think in many ways that's the key thing. So the survey that we did many years ago that showed adoption rates around digital products and services was quite clear that there were two situations where adoption was accelerated. One was because it was kind of so easy and saved you plenty of time, a bit like contactless or paying with your phone, as many of us now do. You just brush it over a reader, and kind of you trust that transaction to take place, or where there's a health benefit. So I guess the thing is, where people develop trust and it's easy to transact, will be the trigger point when people kind of therefore are more comfortable. Part of that is lessons learned and understanding how to avoid the horror stories, and if you're going to develop that trust and actually kind of some reputational trust around the brand of whatever crypto it is that we're talking about. So I guess kind of avoiding the pitfalls and finding the horror stories probably leads us into your book. So how did you decide to start writing a book?
I'd love to tell you it was a sort of impassioned an idea of mine, but I'd be lying through my teeth. It was 100% the publisher's idea. It had never occurred to me to write a book before or do anything like that. I hadn't written anything since my dissertation at uni, which was something I found incredibly difficult, and I think it's probably fair to say did horrifically badly at. I found that level of writing really, really hard, and so no, I hadn't written anything. It wasn't my idea at all. The publisher had already done so. Kogan Page, they'd already done 2 books in the series called Cyber Wars and I think Digital Wars, I think the other one was called, about all the biggest cyber hacks and about some of the corporate infighting. They had this idea of doing the 3rd one in the series on crypto, on all the biggest hacks and scams in crypto. And for whatever reason, they came to me and asked if I'd be willing to do it and up for doing it. And at the time, I totally underestimated how much work it was going to be. I thought 12 chapters, that'll be 12 weekends, that'll be absolutely fine. And we were just coming into lockdown, so it was perfect timing. And totally underestimated it was 12 months rather than 12 weekends of full-time work. But they had the idea of doing the book about crypto hacks and scams, and the title CryptoWars was there, and they asked me to put together a proposal on my idea, and I just went away and got back to them with some ideas, and they proved that and did that. But what was really interesting with the timing, a few months before that, so end of 2019, I'd been sent a link to the BBC's Missing Crypto Queen podcast series, and just by a friend who thought I might like to hear it, and I listened to that, and I listened to the whole thing twice, and was just absolutely hooked. It's an incredible piece of investigative journalism, and just really, really interesting reading. You just can't, or listening, you just can't stop listening. And I think the last ones weren't out, so I was just waiting week by week for them to bring out the latest episode of this incredible podcast. So I messaged Jamie. I just sent Jamie an email. We were sort of one connection away from each other, if he might be willing to speak at one of our Crypto Curry Club events. And this was end of 2019, when we were still meeting in person before we knew anything about coronavirus. And he replied, which I was pretty awestruck by, and he'd heard about the crypto curries and he'd love to come and speak to one. So he came and spoke he was a sort of a guest speaker at our Christmas Crypto Curry Club event in December 2019, and was just absolutely incredible. He just gave us hours and hours and hours of just the absolute most incredible stories and content, and answered our questions. And it was a closed room, 60 of us, just private restaurant, Chatham House rules, so he could go into more depth and speak more freely than he could on a public podcast. So just told us the most incredible stories about the scam, just utterly crazy things that you just couldn't imagine. And from that event, because in the Crypto Curry Club, we've got now, I think, 4,500 members, but it was smaller at the time. But a lot of the people in the community have been in crypto since really, really early days, since right at the beginning. And some of them came forward to me at the end of the event and after that event, and told me their stories of sort of various scams that they'd seen, or hacks and scams that they'd witnessed, and that they'd sort of seen and uncovered early on, and that they'd in some cases tried to warn people about, or in some cases tried to go to the authorities and law enforcement about. And this was sort of early on, before I think that it was really known and understand how big crypto would be. But they'd literally had death threats from some of these scams, and from mafia in some cases, and from organized crime, and had real threats to their lives for trying to expose these scams. So I was given all of these really, really personal stories by people who'd been sort of in that space really early on, and and some of them still are actively watching the scams and keeping an eye on that, and in some cases reporting about what's happening, and just told me these sort of incredible personal stories. Stories that you just wouldn't believe are true. And they invited me into these Facebook and social media groups. Now, it was a hidden world to me. I didn't know these existed, but the main scams, and the communities that support them are still actively going on social media today. So there's a whole number of groups, largely on Facebook, but also on other platforms, where you can literally, anybody can invite you in, you can go in and you can sit there and watch. And it's these Facebook and chat groups run by scams, or run by the communities supporting the scams, or in some cases run by the victims, where you've got people, talking about the scams, but in some cases not knowing that they're scams, in some cases literally scamming each other publicly in these sort of social media groups. So I was invited into these, and I'm still in some of them. And you just sit there sort of in the background on these social media groups and just read what people are saying to each other and watch them literally scamming each other, and watching people promote these scams just so blatantly. They're not trying to hide anything. It seems that it's just this absolutely crazy world. You'd have thought, if this is a scam, and in some cases they're known scams, in some cases they're scams where the founders have been arrested and it's being declared by law enforcement to be a Ponzi scheme or to be a scam or whatever it is, and they're still going on, and they're still holding events, and they're still going out and promoting themselves, and they're still on their LinkedIn's. In some cases their job is promoter at whatever the name of the scam is, or affiliate of whatever the name of the scam is, and they're so involved. So I was just brought into this sort of crazy world that when the publisher reached out to me about it, the one thing I had was a few contacts and connections and people who'd be willing to speak and open up a little bit.
So I guess the thing that I'm kind of then struggling to kind of juggle is that against the backdrop of, to make it successful, then we have to introduce broader trust in the community, broader trust in society, to want to engage. So how do you see that cryptocurrencies generally can help to police or reduce that damages trust, to ensure that actually the positive things that you talked about earlier in the call? Is there anything that you kind of reached as a conclusion within the book, that having exposed some of that world, that these are the steps that people ought to push forward with to help create a more positive outcome?
I think there's a few points to that, and I should add before anything, I'm not anti-crypto in any definition of the word. I think
you're one of the biggest advocates.
So, but the scams are very common. Some people say, well, you shouldn't be so negative about crypto, but it's by exposing some of the scams and by helping people learn more about them, then less people will fall for them, and then it's less of a problem for crypto. I think my first answer to that would be the majority of the scams and the problems around crypto aren't in any way actually related to crypto. So they're opportunists. So some of them are amateur opportunists, individuals just trying to take advantage of the space or getting excited. And some of them are literally organized crime gangs and mafia groups that are very, very sophisticated, know exactly what they're doing. But either way, if you look at an overview of all of the biggest trends in crypto scams and sort of the biggest scams that have affected the most people and taken the most money, they're not about crypto. They're taking advantage of the ecosystem. They're taking advantage of the hype. You've got in crypto, you've got this new and incredibly exciting and incredibly fast moving digital currency sort of ecosystem. You've got the earliest cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for example, that have done really well and made loads of money for their early investors, and people want to get into that, and people are excited by that, and people have FOMO and are jealous that they haven't been in that themselves. So what you've got is this whole sort of ecosystem where the scams have taken advantage of people's desire to get into crypto. So the main scams literally are nothing to do with crypto. They're just Ponzi schemes. And the only thing that they're taking advantage of in crypto is when you send Bitcoin or when you send a crypto transaction, you've sent that transaction. You can't just call your bank and say, well, I'm really sorry, I was hacked. Can you get my money back, please? It doesn't work like that in crypto. That there's no nice person at the end of the bank's phone line that will help you out. You send your Bitcoin, and that also has many benefits. It reduces chargeback fraud. It means that you can send transactions peer to peer. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but scammers are taking advantage of that. So their one aim is to part people from their Bitcoin. Their one aim is to get people to send over their cryptocurrency. So you've got all of these scams saying, well, if you send us your Bitcoin, we'll send you back double. Or if you send us your Bitcoin, we've got this amazing trading algorithm. So we'll trade your Bitcoin for you and we'll send you back more. Or we'll store your Bitcoin more securely for you or more cheaply for you. Or we've got these Bitcoin mining equipment. So if you send us your Bitcoin, we'll mine it for you. And then you won't have to deal with any of that. And you'll get instant guaranteed profit. Or if you send us your Bitcoin, we've got this magical, amazing new cryptocurrency that's better than Bitcoin. So if you send us your Bitcoin, we'll give you lots and lots of these new crypto coins, and they'll double in quantity and they'll double in value and whatever it is. So you've got all of these scams that aren't actually a cryptocurrency. They're not actually part of the ecosystem. They're literally just taking advantage of the hype and confusion around it. And the only link is that they are successful in getting people to send over their Bitcoin. You've got many of these don't actually touch cryptocurrency at all. They've got nothing whatsoever to do with it other than taking advantage of the space. So I think my first comment would be that it's really just people just trying to take advantage of the space, and we've had that in the .com era. We've had that in all of the new sort of exciting technologies that are new and shiny that people don't always understand, and it's been worse in crypto. I think because it's digital money that people want to get into, and it's easier and it's more accessible, and also because the multi-level marketing, which is this sort of commission driven reward structure whereby people get really, really big commissions for bringing new investors in. That's got into crypto. It was the OneCoin scam that sort of blended this hype around digital currency with multi-level marketing, and it makes it spread like wildfire. So if I fall for a scam, for example, if I'm a victim of a scam, initially, like with any good Ponzi schemes, they pay out. So if I'm a victim of a scam, I've sent over my Bitcoin, but if I'm one of the first people that gets into that, they pay out. So then I've got my money back and I've got a profit. So I think this is good. And, a lot of people genuinely that happens to them, that they get their money back and they think it's good because that's what they play on. So then I go to you and I say, hey, Rob, I found this amazing new investment thing and it's really good. And they paid me back out. And because you're my friend, I want you to also make money from this. So, you've got people who are partly, of course, they're motivated by the desire to get the commissions from bringing their friends and their families in. But also, in a lot of cases, they really believe it and they really think they're doing good for their friends and families. So they spread like absolute wildfires because you've got religious leaders, you've got community leaders, you've got influencers going and getting everybody that they know in. And it's a really grey area because some of those, of course, they know it's a scam and they're just only in it for the commissions and to make money out of it, and they don't care who they hurt in the process. But other people are also victims in it. So it's a very, very grey area. So I mean, that's a really sort of long-winded answer to your question. But I think it is important to say that it's not like everything in crypto is a scam.
I guess the thing that is the battle in my own mind is whether the positive of crypto from a customer experience point of view, from person on the street, can outweigh the risk. So therefore, if I come back to the heart of digital responsibility and thinking about how can we use digital to deliver value for the whole of society, can it overcome this degree of risk, which, as you say, I mean, whether it was that there has always been fraud, there has always been risks associated with whether we're talking currencies, coins, goats, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be a compelling benefit for me. Is the compelling benefit solely that people look at Bitcoin and say, hey, we've kind of made a lot of money out of that, or we can see that you've made a lot of money out of it? Is that sustainable across a proliferation of cryptocurrencies, or is there some other benefit?
I'd say totally, massively. The benefit of Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies and the ecosystem massively outweigh the risks. And, I think that there's no industry, there's nothing that's risk free. I know plenty of people who've lost loads of money in real estate and, in renovations or in flats, and then the economy collapsed and they're now in negative equity and they'll never be able to move. Or people that bought new builds in London that are just covered in cladding that they can't afford to do the work on and they can't sell. So, just real estate, just as a very basic example, which is traditionally seen as a safe investment and a safe thing to put money in. Yes, lots of people have made lots of money, and equally lots of people have lost lots of money. There's nothing that is risk-free. And not to say that Bitcoin is, or crypto is less risky. It isn't by any definition of the word. So, Bitcoin especially is absolutely incredible. You've got this whole new innovation. It's changed how people look at money. It's changed how money can be sent. It's opened up the ability for people to store money themselves without needing a bank account. And, that just in itself is huge and shouldn't be underestimated. You've got a third of the world's population that don't have access to traditional banking, that live in mostly developing countries, and because of how much money they earn, banks don't see it as being economically viable to serve those people. So the likelihood that traditional banks will somehow selflessly decide to go and serve those people at no profit to them, that's really slim. So you've got an estimated up to 2.5 billion people in the world who've never been able to access traditional banking, who can't therefore store money digitally, save money digitally, access microloans or microcredit, or access mortgages or whatever it is, or build any form of credit score. And for the first time with crypto, they can have digital wallets and they can store money digitally. They can store it securely, like in the cloud. If and all they need for that is access to the internet or access to a smartphone, which a lot more people have than are able to access traditional banking. So crypto opens up the ability to send and store money digitally safely to billions of people potentially around the world for the first time. And just looking at the remittance industry, for example, they've done whatever they can to charge people as much money as they can because there's no competition. And suddenly crypto comes along and makes it easier and cheaper to send money digitally cross-border, and crypto facilitates the ability to send micropayments or to send money internationally. With crypto, you could charge on a per use basis for content or for likes or engagement. So it opens up a lot of potential.
And it's an interesting angle in the sense of, as you rightly say, to truly reach out to everybody and the unbanked across the world, absolutely being a significant proportion of people, then to find a solution for that would be a brilliant thing to do. I guess the question in my mind is the pushback, the friction that would be introduced by the system if it was being seen to challenge the way that the global payment system kind of operates today, because I guess that would be then perceived as a threat.
I think there's always been pushback. You heard all these stories of when the internet was invented and websites came about. You had all these brands saying, oh, that's never going to last and we're never going to go online and all of that. And there was all this pushback then. And it's been the same with crypto. And we saw it early on a few years ago, sort of 2017 and 2018, when I started the Crypto Carry Club. And we had people from quite a lot of the big banks coming to our events, and they were happy to come and they were happy to be friendly and engage and to learn and talk to people and get ideas. But certainly they were very, very clear that there was no way they could ever do anything publicly with anything called crypto or anything that had the word crypto in it. It was an absolute swear word to them, and they were coming along, in almost the same way as people, slow down and watch a car crash when they drive past it. They're curious and they want to see a little bit, but they wouldn't want to actually stop and be involved and be a part of it. So there was a real negativity a few years ago, not from all parties. You had some of the traditional financial institutions and some mostly individuals rather than their companies, who are really involved and really curious and really saw that this had potential and was worth exploring and at least worth learning about. But that wasn't the most common sort of I guess experience he had from that. And now that's completely changed, and pretty much every bank and every financial institution has a crypto task force or crypto working group, or are coming along to learn more and to engage more, and hiring people in the space. So I think there's a few points to that. You've now got the more traditional financial institutions hiring crypto expert and blockchain product experts to learn more and to see if they should be doing something to integrate or coming along to the events and wanting to learn more. But then you've also got more of the crypto startups, and these were startups that were seen as being little sort of challenger startups a few years ago that have now grown, and they've raised in some cases some serious money and have some serious numbers of users now. Do they have as many users as Facebook or as traditional groups? No, but they're growing fast, and these little startups are hiring some of the people from traditional finance now to get their expertise and their contacts and their skills and their experience in dealing with things like the major payment firms and the regulators and so forth. So what I'm really seeing is a much closer blending of the two than ever before, and that's driven largely by the individuals that are jumping from ship to ship, from crypto to traditional and from traditional to crypto, and they're bringing their contacts with them. And almost every day I'm approached by somebody who's left a role in traditional finance or traditional industry and is working with a crypto startup because they want to, because they're excited by it. And they'll be the first people to come forward and say, hey Erica, I hear you run a crypto community, I'd love to meet blah blah blah, or I'd love to meet more people in the space. So there's a real crossover happening, and we're now seeing that the crypto startups are really keen to engage with some of the bigger corporates, and the more traditional finance are actually looking at what the crypto startups are doing. And that more and more, that's because they know each other, because some of them have worked together in the past now. So I think that's changing.
Yeah, cool. So one of the other things that I typically see thrown at crypto, and I guess I'm putting my environment hat on as I say this, is the energy use around the algorithms. So I guess my question is kind of what you see happening in that space by the industry as a whole, and I guess kind of what the eco crypto solution is.
I mean, it's a question one is always asked, and it's one of those things. Bitcoin uses a lot of energy. There's no denying that. Some of the crypto transactions, especially, you see all these NFTs being minted left, right, and center now, and that some of the energy that they use is enormous, absolutely enormous. Is that sustainable? No, not remotely. So I think there's a few points to that, and I'm not remotely the expert in this space, but it's not like anything digital is energy free. Every time we send a message, anytime we check our WhatsApp or open our email, whatever, that always uses energy. We're constantly using energy, everything we do digitally, and crypto is evolving really fast. So Bitcoin is high energy and has a massive ecosystem around it, with some of the smartest minds in the world and developers working round the clock on developing the ecosystem. Will Bitcoin's energy consumption change? Yeah, absolutely. I expect that to go down and to change. And also, Bitcoin was the first digital currency. It was the first cryptocurrency to do what it does. And the fact that it uses such high amounts of energy are partly in large what makes it so incredibly secure. It makes it very hard to hack because it uses so much energy. So one could argue that maybe Bitcoin transactions aren't designed for buying coffee or sending 1p to you here and there every time I want to send you 1p or 2p or whatever that is. so there's arguments around that, and you've now got that ecosystem is changing, but you've also got new cryptocurrency projects that are coming about and building on blockchains that are far less energy intensive, and you've got some that are coming about where it uses no more energy to send a crypto transaction than you would be using to send an email or whatever that is. So I think that is constantly changing, and the space is changing so much in terms of everything, in terms of security, in terms of user experience. That the energy, of course, is a factor, but I don't see it as being an insurmountable factor that will spell the end of crypto. I mean, certainly there's the argument that just looking at fiat currency, that's not energy free either, and printing fiat currency and all of that involved, and checking fraudulent £5 notes or whatever it is, that's also not energy free.
Yeah, no, cool. I mean, in essence, the message that I get throughout the whole call is hugely innovative space, lots of things that are happening. It's not as though there's kind of a book somewhere that says the answer to it is this. It's kind of to be discovered. It's a journey, but it's a journey that can have a significant impact for billions of people around the world, if only kind of the experience can be simplified, that people can get that trust, and actually, if there's a way of it being clearly seen to minimize risk of fraud because of all the things that are built into it from a design point of view in the first place, then actually it could very much evolve to be core to the way in which we all transact day in, day out.
I think we'll see it, just because it's changing so fast. I've never seen a space like this with so many smart minds going to be in space and working in space, and everything's just changing so fast, and for the better. And yes, there's still scams, but also that there's scams and hacks and problems in every space. Cybercrime in the last couple of years is through the roof bad. Scams through phone calls and emails and social media in every industry, nothing related to crypto, are through the roof worse. In the last couple of years, since software has evolved and since lockdown, and for all these different reasons. So, I'm massively positive and excited by this space, and largely because of the people that are going to work in it.
Which is a brilliant link back to the whole kind of theme for the podcast series of digital responsibility. Yes, digital can do some amazing things, but we need to make sure that it is done so in a manner that delivers value for everybody and provides a planet and a society that's sustainable, however we look at it. So digital kind of digital for good, if you like, and yes, there is threat and risk in kind of many aspects of that. Erica, it's been brilliant to talk through. I'm conscious we've spent kind of probably far longer than the usual podcast, but many things to talk about. I'm intrigued. Are you going to do a follow-up from a book point of view, or has it been one experience for life?
Everyone seems to be asking that. Do you know? Bizarre. I mean, it was certainly stressful at times, and it was an awful lot more time consuming than I ever possibly imagined, and it still continues to be time consuming. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. It was really interesting researching. I actually really enjoyed just being able to sit down and I had this sort of, I'd say, special laptop, another laptop, a Dell laptop that at the time it was almost brand new when I started writing this book. So I sort of consciously didn't install anything on it. No WhatsApp, no email, no distractions, no notifications, absolutely nothing except a browser and Word. So I was just sitting there, just sort of really happily curled up in an armchair, most of lockdown, writing away at this. And, it helped, of course, that it was lockdown. So all of the times when I was working, really endless evenings and weekends on this book, it really helped by the fact that nobody was allowed to leave their houses, and it wouldn't have been possible for me to see friends had I wanted to. So, it really helped that it was lockdown, but I really enjoyed it. So I would love to do another, and I've got my eye on looking more into the dark web and sort of how crypto is spent and stolen and all the sort of the crypto related crimes in the dark web. So I think that would be really cool. I'd love to, but maybe not tomorrow.